So these are messages. We work with various organizations, the FDA, CDC, Institute for Safe Medication Practice, various medical journals, and you can read a quick message. So this is a study about secondhand smoke exposure from the British Medical Journal. And what we do is it's very concise and short. If you want more information, you can email me more information, and then we'll send the full study or whatever information it is. But most people don't want to read pages and pages of information. Yeah. So this is just real short snippet. Here's something new in the news that you might not have known about. So let me go to the search box. So here's the pull down. I'm just going to go in RX for now, but you can go into the disease reference, drugs, infectious diseases, labs, or table. So I am in RX. So let me search for Zoloft. So, sorry. It's hard to type sideways. Zoloft. Okay, so I click on Zoloft. And what will come up is the drug monograph. So for each drug, you'll have dosing, and then if you click on any of the lines with an arrow, it will take you to that information. So here are all the different indications for Zoloft, the dosing. It has renal and hepatic information. If there's a black box warnings, we include that. So the black box warnings are from the FDA when the drug is approved, and this is something that, for example, with Zoloft, there's increased risk of suicidality in children. And so that is just a special alert that they want to make sure the physicians are aware of for that drug. So drug interactions, that's one of our more popular features, and what that will do is show you. So if you're a clinician, you want to prescribe Zoloft, you can see here if the patient's on an MAOI, you should not prescribe that combination, and this is why. Okay. It'll also show you, for these other drugs, you should, avoid use or monitor the patient. So the physician might decide they want to prescribe that drug, but they know they should monitor the patient for the potential side effects. One thing we added new on the iPhone platform, which we hadn't been able to do on the other platforms, is pill pictures. So on the older platforms, for example, the Palm platforms, memory was a big limitation. And so we couldn't do things like have pill pictures because it would take up too much memory. But with platforms like the iPhone, we can have pill pictures because this is a 16 gig device, but you could have 8 gigs or 16 gigs. Drug interaction checker is another one of our more popular features. So, and this goes to the big issue of medical errors. And we actually have some studies that were done a couple years ago by researchers at Brigham and Women's Hospital showing that on average 60% of our users say they avoid 3 or more errors per month. So if you multiply that out by our user base, significant amount of error reduction. But what this lets you do is check multiple drugs at once. So the other interaction feature, you saw one drug versus another. Here, you could put the whole list of the patient's medication. So this patient might be on Coumadin, Glucophage, Prozac, Zyrtec, and now, for example, let's say I want to prescribe Zoloft for this patient. That's what I was looking at. So I'm going to add Zoloft to the list, and now I'm going to say View Interactions. And what it will do is bring up all of the potential interactions. So this would be very difficult to do with a book, which is traditionally how physicians looked up drug interaction information, or they didn't look up it at all. So for each disease, there's basic section, which gives you definition, epidemiology, background information on the disease. Differential diagnosis, so this is useful to clinicians. What differential diagnosis is, so you might think the patient has hypertension, but there are other things the patient could have that have the same symptoms as hypertension. And so you would just want to look at this list and make sure you can rule out these other diseases. So if you click on chronic renal failure, then it will actually take you into the chronic renal failure topic, so you can look at that information. But usually what a clinician will do is just look through the list and say, okay, based on what I know about the patient, I can rule these out. We update the database on average several times per week. I would say twice per week. New drugs have been approved, new indications, additional information. And so anytime you're syncing wirelessly, that information is automatically updated.